What's up, and welcome to episode 283 of First Geek for 11. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, from West Coast, Best Coast, is Emma. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Nice. This week, we are chatting some trailers with Jurassic World Rebirth, Thunderbolts, Asterisk, and then we are also chatting the official release date for Darrington Press's Daggerheart has finally been announced, and so
Which we talked about last week.
Yeah, which we're gonna tie in to what we discussed last week.
Hey, callback.
So go check out that episode. Future Cameron will hopefully put a thing in the corner for it. But before we do that, of course, we'll also catch up on what we have been up to. And as a reminder, you can find us around the internet as OneGeek411. You can join our Discord server, shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Watch live on Twitch Monday nights around 6:40 Mountain Time and on YouTube at the same time. You can also find all of those VODs over on YouTube where you can like, comment, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. Help us with the algorithm. And then, of course, we have that Redbubble store. Emma, what have you been up to this past week?
Couple of things. It's been a slightly more chill week for reasons of mild D&D trauma.
No.
It's not ultimately that big of a deal in terms of real life consequences. But Tuesday night, picture this. You're in a candle store 2.5 blocks from your house that you've been to every Tuesday night for the past year.
Okay.
To play D&D. Okay?
Okay.
You're picturing it in your head.
I'm there. I'm smelling the candles.
It's great. 2 months ago, your character, your OC, got over her fear of abandonment and confessed her love to her now boyfriend. Okay?
Okay.
This is the case of D&D. This is how this goes, right?
Yep.
Things happen. Tuesday night. Apparently it's a big boss battle night.
Okay.
Your OC no longer has a boyfriend because the boyfriend is
your boyfriend's dead now.
The boyfriend who is, I would like to say, the barbarian of the group is dead because he got walloped on by the frickin' DM. So it's been a rough week for everyone involved. I will be playing again tomorrow in the hopes that the resurrection actually works because our druid had Revivify scheduled, planned, prepared. Thank you. But at the end of the session, when we needed it the most, the DM said it doesn't go through because the spell has been blocked.
Ooh, tricksy.
So there's some tricksy stuff going on, and it has been a very eventful week. And for anyone who doesn't know or has forgotten the way this campaign works, it is every Tuesday night, and it progresses with real time. So from one Tuesday to the next Tuesday, when a week has passed in real time, a week has passed in campaign. So essentially what has happened at this point is that my beloved character, Saphira, who started the campaign as the beloved Aloy-inspired fighter. That's how it started. Right now, unfortunately, is in a state of Ellie in The Last of Us 2 and is hunting down the last spellcaster that ran away from the fight halfway through. And so things are going to be happening because she is angry. So things have happened in D&D that have been mildly trauma-inducing, but not actually. Mildly trauma-inducing in the fictional sense.
Yep.
So it's been an eventful week in the, oh no, what's going to happen now kind of scenario. So that's been fun to deal with. And then also this last week, I started or continued watching. I don't quite remember when I started watching it. At some point this week, I started watching Severance
Nice.
on Apple TV because the second season came out, and I've heard so much about the show in terms of people loving it, but have never actually seen it, and don't. And I saw like a post on like Twitter or Tumblr or something that said go into Severance blind, like don't know anything about it. So I was like, okay, fine, I will just re-up my Apple subscription and watch it. And it is amazing. I am obsessed. I saw someone else say that it's essentially inspired by the Stanley Parable, which is such a good description of the show. And it is so fascinating and so good. I am very intrigued, and I am loving it. I don't want to say anything else about it too in detail for the people who haven't seen it, because you truly do need to go into it blind to appreciate it to its fullest, and it's great. So that's
It's
been
on my
that. That's
list.
been my. I
I
highly
haven't
recommend
watched
it.
it, but it's on my list.
I highly recommend it.
Sneaky
It's
also says it's on his list.
yeah, it's so cool. Like it's such a fascinating concept for just how we do workforce, basically. And workforce and NDAs, I'll put it that way. Because that says a lot without actually giving anything away. And it's very intriguing. So yeah, I am very fascinated by it, and it is not at all what I expected. I thought it was going to be like, some guy gets cut off from his family fortune and family business. Not at all what I expected. It's even better than that. And it's great. And then last thing I've been doing in my free time has been some more Plague Tale, just chilling,
Nice.
vibing, helping my little brother, escape from the rats. And it's been a lot of fun and just chilling. I haven't played a lot this week, but I did play some, and it's been pretty delightful and just a chill time.
Nice.
So that's been my week.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear your story review of the games once you finish them. I'm very excited that you're playing them. I think you will love them, and so I'm so excited for thoughts to occur.
Yeah. I'm loving it. I keep loving it every time I jump back into it. So it truly is a delightful game. So
for me, I got a couple things. We'll go loosely in least exciting to most exciting. So least exciting, the Super Bowl happened. It was indeed a game. They played with their ball, and
go sports.
They
some
of
throw
half
the ball
of them
in the
had
hoop?
Fun.
Yeah.
they scored goal unit baskets.
Great.
It was
good for them. Congrats.
Yeah, as someone who's not a sports fan, I just want to see an interesting game, and this was by far the least interesting Super Bowl it feels like in a long time. Just in terms
That's
of
because it happened 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's just one team. I don't even care about that. None of that matters to me. But yeah, just in terms of the one team completely destroys the other one. It just feels like it is so hard to enjoy the game as someone who is not a fan of both team or of either team when one team just destroys the other one. And so the main thing I even went to watch was the commercials, which I went to hang out with a bunch of people, and we were just because no one was really watching the game, everyone was just talking, and so even when there were commercials, no one was watching the commercials because no one was watching the game, and so I want to go back and rewatch the halftime show, just because I couldn't really hear Kendrick, and so that's on the list, but. And then I need to go find a compilation of all the good commercials just to kind of see what there was, because the visuals for the ones that I could see, not a fan of, for some of them, and so I need to go actually watch some and hear what was happening. But
yeah,
and from pre-show, you did not watch any of the Super Bowl, correct?
I did not. I have seen one ad from start to finish from the Super Bowl, and it is the beer froth tongue ad. Is all I can say to describe it. It's very weird. It's very psychedelic and just makes you wonder how it got through multiple steps of approval.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Without having some outside second opinion.
Yeah.
So
in chat, Sneaky says Kendrick's halftime was really good.
Yeah.
Says felt the commercials weren't great, few good ones, but most were eh. And Sneaky also confirms Cold Foam tongue ad was bad.
Yeah.
So
100%. That yeah.
So now I feel like I need to go watch it just to like experience how bad it was. So
you're welcome to, free will and everything, but don't say we didn't warn you.
Yes, I have been warned. And so, but with that, it was a lot of fun to hang out with people, of course. The real Super Bowl was the friends we made along the way. And so there was someone there that like I went to college with. And so it was really crazy, like running into someone that like I'm vaguely aware of from like over a decade ago. And so it was really interesting to like kind of chat with them and catch up a little bit. Again, we weren't necessarily friends in college, but we definitely had some overlapping like friend group. And so it was really interesting to see them. And then my friends that hosted, they made chicken enchilada soup. That was fantastic. And then we like potlucked. And so Deanna made Zipapilla cheesecake, which was very, and then like was good. And then actually, I don't think I had any. I need to fix that. I ate way too many stuffed jalapenos. And that
nonsense. You can never eat enough.
Yeah. And had a party there. And then next thing that I have been up to is this week we had the release of Civilization 7, which I have not played. And instead, the developers of the game Humankind put the game up for free on Epic. So
nice.
Very similar style game. And so instead of playing Civ 7, I've been playing Humankind. And so I've been enjoying it. It's fun.
I just remembered one more thing that I did with my week, but you finish your week first and then I'll tack mine.
Then we'll double back. And so it's interesting. Like I played a good amount of like Civ 3. Like that was probably the one that I played the most, but I've never gotten into like the PvP side of Civ. I've always just like played against the computers and stuff like that. And so I tend to burn out on them pretty quickly. So having one for free is great. And so I'm looking forward. I'll probably play a little bit more. It's not necessarily something that I'm going to play a ton, but. And then next thing, completed 2 novels this week. One of them I referenced last week as one I was really enjoying, which is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. And so the premise of this book is that this like 20-something can't hold down a job and it's fantasy and is like out in the woods where she stumbles upon this person who is the villain, who is like this evil person that's like terrorizing the king and ends up becoming his assistant, like his office manager. And it's about like her like learning to run the company. Shenanigans ensue. It kind of has a little bit of that like enemies to lovers stuff going on, and like everyone learns to grow and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a series with the second book is out, and then I think there's one more on the way. And so I'm looking forward to checking out more of them. And then the other book that I read is called When Among Crows by Veronica Roth, which is Polish fantasy. And so, or fantasy based on like Polish myths. And so it takes place in America, and it is about this group of like kind of the idea of like the supernatural exists in the world. We just don't notice it. And so the idea of like there's I forget the type of monster that they are, but essentially like emotional vampires. But they work at like they run a lot of like nursing homes and things like that,
Mm.
assisted living, and like they feed off of the sorrow of end of life for
Great place for
people.
them to be, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
and so it's
they're not
really
technically harming anyone.
yeah. And so there's some really clever stuff in that sense of like how would these beings exist in the world, and then Baba Yaga is in it, and so that is very interesting. And so it was something that was referenced in V.E. Schwab's newsletter, and so I wanted to check it
Nice.
out. And so I enjoyed it. It's a pretty short book. Of the two, I definitely enjoyed Assistant to the Villain more, but I did enjoy When Among Crows as well. And then last thing, we talked about this a little last week. You have your D&D night. I now have
Yeah.
Lorcana night. And
Yeah.
so this past Tuesday, I went and played my first weekly league of Lorcana after going and playing set champs the Saturday before, so 2 Saturdays ago now. And I would have gone 2-1. I punted one of the games on like the last turn. And like I had the win on the board and I missed it. And so I would have won. And then that was the first round. Second round, I ran over my opponent. He had like a couple bad draws. And then the third round, I just got demolished. Like literally did nothing, demolished. And so it was brutal the other way. But I'm excited. I'm hoping to go back, play some more. I've been really enjoying Lorcana.
Nice.
This is like kind of ties in with news, but we're also getting spoilers starting today for the new Lorcana set. So this is like, well, I've had Lorcana cards and kind of been like tangentially keeping up with it since it started with like the first chapter. This is like the first time from an actual playing perspective I'm looking at the cards and trying to like think deck building and stuff like that. And I'm kind of like applying that side of my brain to it.
Yeah.
And so, and as well as like actually knowing decks that people are playing and stuff like that versus just like in passing, I know there's a deck called Steel Song. Like now I actually like understand more of the cards and the plays and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying the start of spoiler season with that extra lens on it. So those are what I have been up to. Emma, back to you. What's your other thing?
So this is something I just thought of randomly, but on occasion, my coworkers and I will all get lunch together because we can. And our office building is like, we're not on the filming lot for Warner Brothers. We're like tucked away in a corner, like across the street, essentially. But we decided to take a field trip last week and walk over because apparently our key cards can get us into the actual filming lot. Where all of their stages are, and that they do like the tours through. So we just did a fun self-guided tour of the Warner Brothers filming lot because we're employees.
That's pretty
and
cool.
we could, and we had our IDs and we had been vetted. So we got to walk around and see fun things and eat lunch. And it was a lot of fun. We got to see the main courtyard for Gilmore Girls, where like the gazebo bodega is, and like all of the town's shops are centered around. And then we got to see a replica of the Friends fountain and a couch. It was a lot of fun. And that's just something that I did this week that I was like, my life is wild that I can just walk on to a filming lot with an ID card and
that's super cool.
Have it be cool. So
did you see the Abbott Elementary facade?
It did. Fun outside, really well done art that you would see at an elementary school. So because the entrance we went through, we walked right past it to get to the food that we were going to. It was very cool. So it was great. And I'm just like, this is cool. The fact that I can do this
Yeah.
And it's just to get lunch with my coworkers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There is
If
like,
anyone,
go ahead.
go ahead.
There's like a cool thrill of the idea of like I have a badge and that badge can get me places. And
Yeah.
it's even like a better thrill if it's a situation like that where that badge can get you into really cool places. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I texted my family afterwards because the last time my mom visited, she was like, "What do you think about doing the Warner Brothers like tour that they have set up for people who are here visiting, like tourists or whatever?" I'm like, "I suppose. Like, I mean, I do technically work there or whatever, so it sounds kind of boring, but like, I'll do it with you." So I texted my mom afterwards, and I was like, "Mom, I can say for certain that you would love the tour." Um, but also, it would be kind of silly to pay for me to go on the tour with you because I could just walk in myself
Yeah.
with the badge. But also, I'd still be happy to go with you if you want me there. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah. When we were in LA and we saw you, a friend of ours at the time worked at Warner Brothers. And so she
Yeah.
kind of gave us a unofficial like lot tour. And
Yeah.
so that was
Yeah.
really fun. And it was cool getting to see everything. Also for free because she just like got us in.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was really cool. And like there's so much, obviously there's so much cool stuff there. And so
Yeah.
like there's a lot that to go and look at
Yeah.
and experience, especially because like I always forget the HBO is Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And so I was like, The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like completely had forgotten that would be
Yeah.
there. And so
Yeah. There's some great stuff. So
that's what we have been up to. Chat, comment section. Let us know what you have been up to. You can also let us know over in the Discord. But let's jump into our first news story as we go into trailer talk. Emma, what have you got for us?
I've got some dinosaurs. I love some good dinosaurs. We this week got a trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth. And it features some dinosaurs, of course, because we love a good dinosaur, and a good dinosaur movie. Just especially if you're me, who's as much a science nerd as I am like a pop culture nerd. I love them good dinos. But we also got to see our first little view of a failed genetic experiment, if you will. Because if you don't know, the whole reason the Jurassic franchise exists is because it's telling us why just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah.
And it's all about messing with genetics to bring back the dinos. So we got to see a hint of our very first, like, bring back, if you want to call it, that's like truly horrific and not just like, oh, it's a T-Rex or whatever. It's like, this is a failed clone of a dinosaur that would not exist at all by any, natural causes. Because the island that they're going to is where they locked away all the failed clones and all of the failed whatever when they were trying to make the dinos to open Jurassic Park, because they have to get some DNA to make a cure for something. But now they're handling the failed genetic experiments that have 4 sets of arms, and it's gonna be great. And I'm excited because dinos and failed genetic experiments, and I don't care if any of it is unrealistic because it's just cool. Rule of cool, guys. Let's live in a world of rule of cool, okay? I don't care if it's unrealistic. It's pretend dinos, okay?
Yeah.
So we got a trailer for that this week.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of the like suspend your disbelief and just have fun with the cool dinos.
Yeah.
And it's up to the film to make it so you can do that.
Yeah.
Like that was part of my issue with some of the Jurassic World movies, and really anything that's not the first Jurassic Park. But like the suspension of disbelief for a lot of stuff is that's very convenient type stuff. And I'm really excited for this movie, just on the sense of like there's such classic summer blockbusters of like big dinos go burr, and like what's gonna happen. I'm excited.
And
for
at
this
least one
like,
person's gonna die from being
somebody's
eaten
gonna
by
get
a
got.
dino because they're dinosaurs. But you know what? That's gonna happen when you bring dinosaurs back to life.
Yeah. In chat, Sneaky says, why is there always a small child involved in these dangerous situations in Jurassic Park? Because there's got to be stakes.
Yeah. And it's also just at this point iconic for Jurassic Park movies to have at least one small child involved.
Yeah, there's some kid that obviously shouldn't be there. Yeah. And clearly bringing them was an awful idea. And if not the whole
and yet they're there anyway.
Function. Yeah.
Yeah.
It plays into the science or the theme of it of none of this should have happened. And so
look, dinosaurs are for kids. Like the kids should be allowed to see the dinosaurs until everything goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
At which point the child should not be there anymore. Wow, it's almost like we could have prevented this to begin with by not bringing the child.
So I want to call out some casting. Scarlett Johansson is going to be playing Zora Bennett.
Yeah.
Presumably is the lead of the film. Mahershala Ali is playing Duncan Kincaid, who is Zora's team leader. And then Jonathan Bailey is playing Dr. Henry Loomis, a paleontologist. And then we do have a handful of other characters like Manuel Garcia Rulfo, Rulfo, and then Luis Blaise and Daniel Icano. And so as some of the major actors for the film. And so I'm very excited. I'm very interested.
Yeah.
As Ninky says, a child is just a dino lunchable. You know, got to have a snack. In this case, you got to pick which kid you sacrifice to save the other.
And unfortunately, in this scenario, there's not one, there's not two, but there's 3 Spinosauruses you have to deal with. Yeah. Which is a problem because they're worse than the T-Rex.
Yeah.
I love dinosaurs.
Yeah. I'm excited. And I'm excited because some of this, from my limited understanding and limited recollection, is like going back to some of the ideas from the original book. Yeah. And so there's supposed to be like more of the tie-in with some of the stuff that got cut from the original book is supposed to tie in like with this story a bit more. And so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. This one's supposed to be much more like, I don't want to say horror because that's not correct, but like much more like spooky in the way that like if, dinosaurs had been brought back to life in the real world, it would actually be truly terrifying.
Yeah.
And not just in a one-off case of, oh no, they're stuck on an island, but in a like this is like a natural disaster, truly terrible kind of scenario. Because there's never going to be just one T-Rex. There's never just going to be one Spinosaurus. There's going to be multiples. And you got to deal with all of them at once. And so this is supposedly going to be... This is rated R. I don't know if that's the first rated R Jurassic Park movie. But I do know that this one is going to be rated R. For anyone who wants to see it, thinking, oh, it's going to be another PG-13 dinosaur movie. This is rated R. In other words, don't take your children before you've seen it yourself. So I'm excited just because I like dinosaurs and I like watching movies that have dinosaurs involved. Because they're cool. So we got the trailer for that this week and I'm excited.
Yeah. Quick Google search. It does look like this would be the first one.
Great.
The other ones do look to be PG-13 from, again, very quick Google search.
Yeah.
And so, but like I said, could be wrong. It's just based on
Yeah.
very fast Googling. And so
I want to see some more practicals. Give me my practicals back.
right. Which is
Please,
part of why the
I
first one
want
holds
them.
up so well.
Yeah. I want my practicals. I want my practical dinos back. I don't care if it takes production longer to film because it's annoying. It makes it better. So much better.
Yeah.
That's why people love Rexy so much.
Yep.
Because she was an actual physical dino. And we love her. Okay. I could talk about this all day. I have a thing for practicals.
Yeah. Jumping over to our second trailer, we also got another. This was during the Super Bowl. I did not see it, but during the Super Bowl, we also got a trailer for Thunderbolts Asterisk, taking another look at these characters, showing off a bit more of the team and what is going to be going on. And this movie looks so good. I have been very excited for this movie, and the more and more that they have shown, the more and more excited I am for it. And I am like putting this in the camp of like, I am ready to be hurt. And I hope they stick the landing with this one more so for me, more so than any of the other two MCU films we have this year, being the Captain America and then Fantastic Four. Of like, my expectations for Thunderbolts is very high just based on what we've seen and like the cast and the in-world characters that we have and style and all of that stuff. And so I really hope this is cool. We get another look through this at presumably how the team is going to be assembled and how we're going to be like getting them off on their mission and what that's going to look like. We see presumably the big bad of the film as well, kind of obscured by shadow, as almost as if they are from a void. And we also get to see some very cool stuff with that. I put out, I should say shout out to Panda Boy who posted the Jurassic World trailer in our Discord. I dropped this one and then told people to hit me up with thoughts. Locke got me, shared some thoughts with me. He said the trailer's so good, definitely doesn't hurt that my reaction that I'm apparently a sucker for a good 80s song mix-in.
Yeah. Cameron can attest to my reaction beforehand, which was, is that Celine Dion in the trailer? The answer is yes, and it was perfect.
I'm super excited for what this is going to be. In chat, Sneaky says very excited for Thunderbolts as well. Like, I love the promise of the MCU, and I've probably like gone on this like rant before, but the idea of the MCU is that every character matters.
Yep.
That for every Black Widow, you have Red Guardian, who is just like this goofy character, but exists in this world. And the promise of the MCU is that at any time, these characters could interact if the story calls for it and the budget calls for it. But I love this idea of like, who is on this team and why are they here? It's such an eclectic bunch of characters.
It's such a random group of characters, but it could work.
Right. And
it could work.
It seems like it's going to be such like a ridiculous time where you have like basically 3 super soldiers, 2 assassins. Then you have Ghost, who like in terms of powers, like has probably the most interesting actual powers.
Yeah.
And then you have Taskmaster, who, hopefully will get some redemption for how bad they how done dirty they were in Black Widow.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, like, again, that's like such an eclectic group, and it feels like what we wanted when like the MCU was starting out, of like, this is a bunch of characters that they were not X-Men, they were not Spider-Man, they were not any of like the big names in the sense of like if you weren't, they were not like the mass media appeal.
Yeah, they weren't the household
like,
names. Everyone knows Superman and Batman and Captain America and Iron Man and Spider-Man. Like, those are the household names. You could list off any of those and people would have a general idea of what's going on there.
Yeah. Right. And I don't know. I'm again for that premise of like, this is a bunch of characters that we don't know, like we've seen, we've interacted with, and like getting to see them come together and have to be on a team together.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely heard something that I fully expect us to get, which is that we're going to get the Avengers circle shot of these characters.
Yeah.
And I need that so bad.
I want it so much.
Like we've already had Elena like making fun of a lot of the like those physical tropes.
Yeah.
And I can see us getting jokes about the circle, kind of like what we've had in Guardians of the Galaxy before.
Yeah.
And this can kind of be the like, okay, but like this is actually something that's a big deal. And so Sneaky says they're like the Avengers B team. I think this is like the Avengers D team.
Yeah.
Like
B team is so being fun. A little generous.
And that's what makes me happy of like what, like I've been reading through the Krakoan era of X-Men recently.
Yeah.
Because, you know, shout out to my local library that has a whole bunch of those comics. And the cool thing about that is that not every story is this like super dramatic like thing. Sometimes it's just Shadowcat on a boat like and has to fight some bad guys because they've kidnapped some mutants. Like, and sometimes that bad guy is Doctor Doom. Other times that bad guy is some other just random powered person and like
who went a little bit AWOL, and you know what? That's okay.
Exactly. And I feel like that's like the promise of the MCU is it's like, hey, yeah, you have your super powered characters. We're getting Fantastic Four, but then you also have these other characters that are like not nearly on the same scale, but there are things going on in the world that they're going to be up to.
Yeah.
And are they in way over their head with this? Most likely, if the villain is who it looks like it's going to be, most definitely they are in over their heads.
I don't know what you're referring to in that regard, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So this is, I guess, like potential spoilers for what could be the plot of this movie. So we know that there's a character from the other trailers whose name is Bob. His character is the Sentry. And so Sentry is arguably the most powerful person in Marvel canon. Like in terms of like non-cosmic entities, he's probably one of the most powerful. The problem with that is that his personality is split because of that power. So he has this like dark entity within him called the Void. And at some point in time in the comics, Sentry realized that the only way to protect the world from the Void and thus also protect them from himself was to basically erase him from history.
Interesting.
So he used his powers. You can think kind of like Wanda-esque here, but like that's kind of different in terms of his total power set. But like he used his powers to like manipulate reality so that he was written out of it. And he was just a guy who had no recollection of ever being a hero, even though he had been around. Yeah. Like in retconned, he'd been around the whole time, but he just wrote himself out of everything. And eventually he comes back, and eventually the Void comes back with him as the villain. But I mean, you can think like, again, like Superman-esque like type power level compared to everyone else. And like insanely powerful. And so it looks like Sentry / the Void is going to be the villain of this.
Yeah.
And that'll be the twist partway through, is like we'll have the gang like potentially rescue Sentry, and then he's actually the Void, and so or the Void awakens in him or something like that, and so we'll see. And I'm very excited. I like Sentry from the comics that I've read that he's in, and so I'm very interested to see what that ties in. And then that also, if they do bring in Sentry, the asterisk being Dark Avengers would also make a lot of sense. Just kind of with that, the title, because Sentry does take part in some of the Dark Avengers stuff. So we'll see.
Exciting.
Yeah. That's going to bring us, I should say, let us know what do you think of these two trailers. Hit us up. What are you excited for? What are you hoping for? And let's jump into some tabletop news with the announcement this week that Daggerheart will be fully releasing May 20th when it comes to fully releasing to select retailers on May 20th, and then will be available everywhere else on June 3rd. And so as a reminder for people that do not know, Daggerheart is from Darrington Press and is essentially created to be a competitor to the TTRPG of Dungeons & Dragons. And so Darrington Press is the publishing arm of Critical Role, and we had a very big discussion around this last week because we got the announcement of the final episode of Campaign 3, and we were theorizing what that could obviously mean for Campaign 4. And we discussed the imminent announcement that Campaign 4 is going to be Daggerheart. And here we are with our late spring release being basically 3 to 4 months after the end of the campaign, exactly like we theorized last week.
The timeline matches up with previous patterns.
Yeah. So this... Again, I feel like so vindicated that this is I did a quick look back at our episode from last week to try to get like our specific predictions, and I might try to go back and actually like put some down, but this really lines up with the prediction of the exact dates of what we were discussing of Campaign 4 is going to start the release week or the week before, and then we'll get the Daggerheart release. I realize that kind of gives us some wiggle room because there's technically 2 release dates, but that's going to give us the release information or release window and then the start of the Campaign 4 lining up exactly in that week and a half span. So,
because logically, I mean, again, we talked about this last week. It makes sense, assuming they're gonna have a Campaign 4, and just given the events of the past 2 years, roughly, when it comes to the OGL and Wizards of the Coast, etc., it would make sense for them to switch to their own game system, and it makes sense for them to time the release of Campaign 4 with the release of their own system, because they would want to give their audience an example of how to play the system to help ease the transition into that new system for that audience. Because I know I like having an example to watch for new systems. That's how I became so much more comfortable playing 5e, was literally by watching hours and hours and hours of Critical Role. And that's what helped me get familiar with how the game works. So it just makes sense logically for those 2 things to line up. And when you did your digging last week, it was roughly 3 to 4 months gap between the end of one
we
campaign
did not have
and the
actual
start of another.
we did not have like specific dates in the article that I had, but like just going off the month, it was roughly
General
3 to 4
months,
months between, and so which lines up perfectly with this.
Which gives them enough time to have a bit of a break between campaigns and for Matt to do his planning and for new characters to be made and everything.
For them to get
So,
art, for them to get all of this kind of stuff for these characters.
And all of that stuff. So.
And so for the record, I had not looked at this prior to right now, but May 20th and June 3rd are Tuesdays. So that lines perfectly with like the Thursday before, and then you have pre-order it and it comes out on Tuesday, or vice versa. This came out on Tuesday. Here we are playing it on Thursday. And so like that just fits so perfectly. And like if they are going to do say we'll just pick May 20th just because that's the initial release for pre-order, people that have pre-ordered. So what they can do is on May 20th release character. Here's our characters. Here's what they look like. Here's everything. Check them out. Go
here's
find
their
them,
stat blocks.
Go find them via the rules. And see us play them on Thursday. Like release all that as a video, drum up hype for Daggerheart, do all of that. Like
it just makes sense.
Seems extremely perfect to line up with their normal schedule. I believe.
Yeah.
The more and more news that we've been getting along this, the more and more
I
think it's going to all come together.
Yeah.
So, and then we've probably talked about this before, but Daggerheart is like also such a perfect game. It's very obviously a game designed for the Critical Role group and people that play like the Critical Role group, where in a lot of ways they're pretty loosely playing D&D to begin with.
Yeah.
And they've
got a lot of homebrew.
Yeah, and like I said, and I mean that in the most positive way possible, not as a knock against them, but like in terms of they are so, because they're actors, they're so theatrical. There's so much storytelling, and this
they're very
system is
RP based.
Yeah, it's just so ripe for that type of story or that type of campaigns, compared to something that is much more rules dense or combat dense. Of like, to go to one of my favorite ones, like TTRPGs that I wish I could play again or play more, like Lancer, which is the mech based TTRPG. And that game is so gritty, so like there's so much going on, and like that I don't think would really work well for a Critical Role type game. Just because they're not min-maxers, they're not like, that's just not their style. And whereas you kind of need a little bit more of that hand in a game that has very intense like rules for combat. And Daggerheart is exactly what they want. And it just feels so perfect for them to do a campaign like around it. And then again, we discussed this last week, and then you wrap up campaign 1 and then you release the supplement. Like here is the like, because they're going to have, I forget what they're called, but they're basically like campaign settings, and they might just be called campaign settings, but it's a series of like made up worlds or like made up like campaign hooks within the Daggerheart system. And it's from how they've talked about them, I don't think it's clear for like how long they're going to be. Like, is it a 1-pager? Is it 5 pages? Like, what's that actually look like? But the basic goal is to like give you a starting place to build a campaign off of. And one of them they did, I think at the PAX panel, was the idea that it's like a village that has been cut off from the rest of the world because of magic. So they've never had to fight. They've never like had to like defend themselves. And now that magic is fading, and they get like gather people from the town to go investigate what it is, but they don't have weapons. Like they have like farm implements and stuff like that, because they haven't had to fight.
A pitchfork and a torch or whatever, you know?
Exactly. And so like I said, it's unclear like how much those are going to be from the stuff that I've seen. Again, that could have been posted someplace and I just didn't see it. But I feel like it makes so much sense for them to then say like, hey, in the actual like core rulebook, you have these however many campaign settings, but then if you want to play in our setting as seen on Critical Role,
here's additional material.
Here's the 200-page book or whatever.
It is just supplemental material. Yeah.
And with the way that the classes are
It's the
set up,
bonus features on the DVD.
yes, exactly. It's the behind the scenes. Great
It's
example.
the behind the scenes. It's the Shrek Never After Idol or whatever instead of American Idol, where you can.
Yes.
It's the bonus features on the DVD.
Yeah.
Which is a lost art we need to bring back, by the way. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, hard agree. But yeah, with the way like their classes are set up, where there's the different arcana, and then like each class like intersects two of them. Not every two like arcana has a class. Like in terms of there's plenty of gaps for them to fill in other supplements, and there's also plenty of space for them to have a character. Like one of the people play the class in the upcoming supplement and reveal it in that way. So this is kind of like what happened with Molly. There we go. Molly Mock.
Yeah.
Where like they played like the Blood Hunter style thing, which never became an official D&D class. But like now they have the power to like, hey, we are literally playtesting this character live on Critical Role. Come watch us and submit feedback for what you think of this character as you're playing it too. And then they're going to be in the next supplement because it's like we've shown you the playtesting.
We've given you
so perfect
an example.
So I am sure we will be talking more about this as we go. I still have not gotten in my pre-order for it. That's still on the list of things that I need to do because I definitely want to support them. And I've really enjoyed my time with Daggerheart. And so that's definitely on my list, and to continue growing my TTRPG shelf. And then I know we talked with Shanine about it, I believe for our top 5 from 2024, where she talked about Daggerheart. And so I'm very excited for us to get more of this and see what this is going to look like and see what the world is going to be here. And so that is really what we've got for news this week. Relatively light week, some fun trailers, some great TTRPG news. A handful of other things happened that kind of are not going to get blown out into the whole topics, just because I don't necessarily know how much we have to say. As an example there, PlayStation Network went down for about a day.
I didn't even know it was down because I was doing other things.
Yeah,
leaving
I
the
did not
house,
know until Sneaky posted about it, and then I was seeing memes, but like I didn't realize that's what the memes were about, and so, so of course other stuff happened, but in terms of major stuff, those are kind of our 3 big ones. Do you want to just continue to call out that our next book club is going to be A Study in Drowning, and by Ava Reed, and so that was originally going to be in January and has been postponed. We're still hoping to find a good date to do that discussion. We do have some fun topics to discuss, or some potential like new things to add into the book club when it comes to some fun like activities and questions and things like that. And so we'll see what that looks like when we get there and what we're able to do, but very much looking forward to that. And then also as an announcement, we are hoping to do a Captain America Brave New World spoiler cast next week. That does come out this weekend. And so assuming we're both able to go see it, we're going to try to come together and discuss that film and give our very spoiler-filled thoughts on the whole thing. And so
I have the time to. It's just a matter of remembering to do so. Yeah. So it is in my calendar for Sunday because I'm playing D&D on Saturday. So I will get a reminder to go see it.
And so hopefully it'll be great. We're going on Friday, and so I'm very much looking forward to and hopeful for it. But if we're not able to get it in, we'll just do a normal chat hangout type thing, kind of like what we've been doing. Ooh, I get to ban somebody. We've got a bot in chat, but as I ban this bot,
I beat you to it.
You got him. Good job.
I got him.
And so, if you're not a bot and would like to hang out with us, you can do that around social media finding us as One Geek 411. Jump in our Discord server. We'd love to chat geeky things, whatever geeky is for you. Reminds me, I do have something for post-show chat. And then Also, you can shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can find us on Redbubble. Then you can watch live on Twitch and YouTube, and then find the VODs and our full videos over on YouTube, including, I think, going back to like episode 130 or something like that. All of that is over on YouTube. And then if you want to find us
from before Shanine and I joined.
Yeah, I think there's like a few from before y'all joined. I'll look in
the lost archives.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like, there are ones that are Chris and I, but I don't remember if they're just like Magic episodes or if it's like that was from like around when y'all started in. I don't remember exactly when we started doing YouTube as well, or started doing like video on YouTube. And so, but, and then last thing, of course, you can find us on our personal social media. I am Humar Whittle. And I'm on Blue Sky, currently talking about Lorcana spoilers, and Book Sky, talking about the books I'm reading.
Yeah.
And who are you on social media?
Right. I am not prepared with an I in the prepared because apparently I just got distracted just then and I can't spell, which is why it's prepared with an I instead of spelled correctly. Okay, dyslexia. That is me.
Woo. And it's been a great week.
Go chase a dinosaur.
Roll some dice. But a hope and fear die.